Soviet disk detected. To play the Allied missions, please insert the Allied disk.
Hello everyone, I'm a broken robot. The internet is truly a curse and a blessing. While it gives us the ability to stay in contact with one another over thousands of miles and gives us the entire knowledge of the world at a keyboard's distance, the internet has also garnered the golden age of scams, misinformation, and well, just blatant brain rot in one way or another. The internet has also given us some of the greatest independent artwork, animation, and movies that couldn't and wouldn't exist without the internet and its network of passive and active communities and individuals. There is no better example of one-off independent stories being shot to the heights of nationwide and sometimes worldwide fame than that of the dominance of creepypastas from 2012 to late 2014. If you're unfamiliar with the term creepypasta, it's pretty simple. Creepypastas are essentially internet-based horror stories that are shared and spread across the online communities hundreds of times, becoming essentially internet ghost stories and urban legends. The term creepypasta is derived from the term copypasta, which refers to text that is copy and pasted across the internet, like the infamous Navy SEAL copypasta that still makes the rounds to this day. Creepypastas specifically focus on horror themes, often involving supernatural elements, mysterious occurrences, and chilling endings. These stories are typically shared on forums, social media, and dedicated websites, but originally flourished on sites like 4chan and Amino. Trying to pinpoint the first creepypasta is a difficult and convoluted task, but the internet widely accepts Ted the Caver, posted all the way back in 2001 as the first viral creepypasta, and its simplistic and believable story helped fuel the flames of the early years prior to creepypastas reaching the mainstream internet. Ted the Caver was a blog post story about a caver named Ted and their adventures while caving. At one point they venture into Freeway Cave and discover a small opening into a much larger cavern below. Ted and his friend B both work to clear the hole, and at one point a third companion even reaches inside, only to fearfully flee after claiming he was attacked. After Ted entered the new cave opening himself, he discovers a second entrance into the cave he was in and realizes that he's not alone, and soon Ted and B are fleeing an unknown entity. The creepypasta ends with Ted and B deciding to venture down into the cave once again to figure out what they encountered, and that's where the blog ends, leaving a cliffhanger that relies on the reader to fill in the gaps. It was believable but slightly supernatural tales like this that allowed creepypastas to become more prevalent as the internet grew in size. Was Ted the Caver a true story? No, but people back in 2001 didn't know that and had to just scratch their head and wonder. By 2008, there was a robust and well-documented chain of creepypastas that were making the rounds online. These stories ranged from something as simple as a possessed doll to something as complicated as snow eating people and turning their remains into snowmen. This era gave us some of the most well-known creepypastas to this day. Stories like Jeff the Killer, The Russian Sleep Experiment, Ben Drowned, and Sonic.exe were everywhere, but the urban legend nature of creepypastas was pushed to the wayside by the wider community, leading to most creepypastas between 2008 and 2014 going for sheer scare tactics and not being believable. I mean, is the idea of a 13-year-old child serial killer realistic? Nah, but it sure got people talking. Is a chain email that leads people to die groundbreaking fiction? No, but it's relatable to many people who were around during the early years of the internet. When 2012 rolled around, YouTube had a heavy hand in the virality of stories like the Slender Man and the Russian Sleep Experiment. YouTube channels like Mr. CreepyPasta and CreepyPasta basically carried the community on their backs towards the final years of the golden age of creepypastas, and continue to this day. These channels simply narrated pre-written creepypastas while somber music plays in the background, which was a major hit among younger viewers looking to feel more grown-up than they really were. Many online today will write off creepypastas as nothing more than fanfiction for edgy 12-year-olds. But back then it still appealed to a wide audience, including myself. I'd like to take a moment to talk about some of my personal favorite creepypastas to just prove that not all of them were cringe. Persuaded, published all the way back in 2008, is a unique spin on a zombie outbreak. After an oil tanker crashes off the coast of England, a broadcast shows rescue workers being attacked by mobs of violent people. The narrator tries to continue with his normal life until these zombies reach his town and begin ransacking the entire place. Unlike traditional zombies, these can run, and worst of all, they're smart. After barricading himself in his duplex bathroom, he comes to the realization that the zombies know he's in there. Rather than simply breaking down the door, they whisper to him while he hides, trying to persuade him to join them. Abandoned by Disney is a fan favorite and has even garnered gaming spin-offs and multiple retellings. Abandoned by Disney follows the internal monologue of an urban explorer looking through an abandoned jungle-themed Disney resort. The resort is left relatively in good shape despite being abandoned for years, and it's later revealed that the local wildlife exhibits simply release their creatures into the local ecosystem. All over the park, Abandoned by Disney is written on buildings and walls, adding to the eerie setting. After further exploration of the park, our narrator ventures into the center of the resort, a replica of Mowgli's palace from the Jungle Book. Here our narrator uncovers the decrepit remains of a costume room where a Donald Duck suit appears to have human remains inside. Before our narrator can flee, he encounters a photo-negative Mickey Mouse suit which also contains human remains, only this time, it's still alive. The man flees, seeing Abandoned by God above the doorway as he escapes this photo-negative monster. The last of my honorable mentions is a lesser-known creepypasta, simply called Alone. In this short but simple creepypasta, our narrator is home alone and feels an odd sense of paranoia, and continues looking around the house, narrating in his head about locking doors, checking windows, and a general fluster of worrying about not being alone. At last, the pasta ends with the narrator deciding he no longer felt paranoid, and decides to go to sleep, only for the final line to be, "You're alone with me," revealing that the narration wasn't of the person searching their home, but someone hidden within. While some creepypastas have definitely aged better than others, let these three stand out as an example that not all creepypastas were about Lost Barney episodes or killer Furbies, although the community sure did want to write about those topics a lot towards the end of the trend. In fact, now's a good time to address what I'm sure anyone in the audience over the age of 16 knows. A lot of creepypastas, I'd say a good solid 50 to 60% of them, are complete and utter cringe. I'm sorry, there's no other way to put it. Around mid-2012, during the absolute height of the creepypasta trend on YouTube and the wider internet at large, many amateur novelists and writers would dip their toe into the creepypasta pool, writing their own, and well, somewhere between 2012 and mid-2013, all creepypastas kind of just, well, sounded the same. Some would blame this on many younger internet users joining in on the trend, but to this day, I think it was just oversaturation that started the decline of creepypastas. Stories about haunted children's characters and over-the-top ending monologues about demons and it being the writer's final moments became all but cliche. There must have been thousands, no, millions of Jeff the Killer, Slender Man, and the Rake ripoffs and rebrands. By mid-2013, sites like Tumblr and Reddit stopped seeing large traffic of creepypasta viewers, but mostly people composing their own. If you're familiar with creepypasta tropes, or were around back during their height of popularity, you might recall a slew of EXE pastas where people would try to take generic video game characters and make them scary, which became old, fast. Characters like Herobrine and Slenderman had become household names thanks to the creepypasta boom, but how many in the audience are exactly interested in Toad EXE, or Rainbow Dash EXE, or Flipping Parappa the Rapper EXE? You see what I mean? You can't just take a video game character, put EXE in front of their name, and expect it to be intimidating. Video games like Five Nights at Freddy's and Eyes helped further widen the gap between the younger and older audiences, and by the end of 2013, most of the OG creepypasta writers moved on to bigger and better things, while a slew of grifters and children wanting to act grown up took their place. Speaking of video game creepypastas, now's a good time to talk about the end of creepypasta's golden age. When it comes to many online movements that end, most people will give you a range of dates for its final endpoint. No one knows the exact date that MLG or other trends ended, but when it comes to creepypastas, we have an exact date. Before I can explain this next section, I'd like to warn everybody in the audience that we'll be discussing real-life crimes and assaults. So if that's something that makes you uncomfortable, please, feel free to click off, I won't take it personally. May 31st, 2014 was the day that creepypastas lost their dominance in the online fiction space. As we've discussed various popular characters in this video, like Jeff the Killer or Smile Dog, it's important to understand that, like always, the internet does its weird thing. People would ship creepypasta characters together, make cutesy fan art, and some diehard fans even believed that some creepypastas were real. Slenderman was easily one of the most popular creepypasta characters, even more so than characters like Herobrine or Jeff the Killer. The Slenderman in the 8 Pages video game helped jumpstart the Let's Player revolution on YouTube, and Slenderman stayed relevant even when creepypastas at large were dwindling in popularity and substance. What no one would expect was that someone would think it was real. On the night of May 31st, 2014, two preteens, Anissa and Morgan, who had become obsessed with the Slender Man mythos and believed that they were chosen by him, lured a friend, Peyton Leutner, into the woods during a sleepover and proceeded to stab her 19 times. Miraculously and thankfully, Peyton survived the attack, but suffered severe injuries and lived with mental scars to this day. The two attackers were arrested and held for days until they appeared in court. The motive, as later revealed in trial, was that they both believed that they were carrying out this violent act so that way they could become proxies of Slender Man and prove his existence to skeptics. The event shocked the nation and reached headlines across the Western world. As news outlets and concerned parents uncovered more information about Slender Man and creepypastas as a whole, it raised questions about the internet's cultural influence on young minds and the blurred lines between fiction and reality. Anissa and Morgan were charged as adults with attempted first-degree intentional homicide, but later pleaded guilty to lesser charges due to their young age. They were sentenced to long periods in mental health facilities, and hopefully will never see the light of day again. The court case caused many to question if parents could firmly monitor what their children did and saw online. The Slenderman attack serves as a tragic reminder of the potential dangers of online content, particularly for young and impressionable minds. It sparked discussions about parental monitoring of internet use and opened the door for the first wave of major online censorship, and placed more responsibility in the hands of online creators to be mindful of their audiences. The fallout from the Slenderman attack combined with the realization that the only people who wrote creepypastas after 2013 were literal children, the creepypasta community and their place in the wider internet never truly recovered, with sites like CreepyPasta being a shadow of what they once were back in the early 2010s. The rapid and widespread abandonment of the creepypasta community wasn't all doom and gloom, however. Thanks to games like the previous mentioned Five Nights at Freddy's, which came out in 2014, and Slender Man in the 8 Pages, horror gaming was entering its golden age, and while creepypastas never truly recovered, it branched out into other communities. The now very popular SCP Files was directly inspired by creepypastas, like the Rake and Cartoon Cat. Things like mascot horror and the Backrooms took heavy inspiration from previous creepypasta tropes. While most creepypastas have aged like raw milk, there's still some nuggets of great fiction if you're willing to search through the slop. And that, my dear viewers, is an overview of the rise and decline of creepypastas online. I personally was there when creepypastas peaked in 2012, and I'm curious if anybody in the audience recalls the early years of creepypastas, or has a favorite one that's more unknown. I'd be more than happy to discuss it in the comments down below. But more than anything, I'm so happy and thankful to have each and every one of you here in my audience today. You all are truly what makes the show possible. If you've stuck around this long, I'd like to politely ask you to like and subscribe. If you like the video, not only does it let me know that you guys want more content, but it helps me out personally in the YouTube algorithm, and I couldn't thank you all enough. Feel free to subscribe and join the Robot Factory today so you don't miss out on my weekly video essays, commentary, and reviews on whatever topic of the week has piqued my interest. I cover everything from video game characters to 18th century philosophy, so there's always something for everyone here on the Broken Robot Show. I hope you all have a great day, don't stare at the moon, and stay cool.